The other day, I surprised my cousin with the portrait of her son. This is the moment that she saw it for the very first time.
Yapmışsın. Çok güzel olmuş Ece. Çek şunu çek.
It was 19 by 24 inches, which was the biggest ever size that I worked in my life. And sure, it had its own challenges. And in this video, I want to talk about all the challenges I face with and how to solve those problems. Number one was the space problem. Well, obviously you need a bigger space for the bigger drawing. So as you can see, it didn't fit on my working space, but I was on my dining table this time. And honestly, you also need some space around the drawing because you need to get into the left part of it, right part of it. Sometimes you need to turn this drawing so that you can focus on one area much better. This is a problem that I never had in smaller drawings. In this one, for example, I had to tilt the drawing so that I can do all these perspective parts on the right. And here, you're gonna see that when I'm working on the face, I was leaning on the table. I was leaning on my drawing, which caused the second problem. The second problem is fingerprints. Well, when you touch your paper a lot, either to turn it or to lean on it, then you will leave some fingerprints, which is not good for your drawing. So I found a solution for it. What you can do is basically to erase it with your plastic eraser. I use Staedtler Mars plastic. It doesn't have to be plastic, but it can be any eraser that erases really well. And I don't find kneaded erasers very helpful in this case. After you erase that fingerprint, you just grab a brush and you start brushing that area, but bringing all the charcoal dust or graphite dust from surroundings of that area. So what's going to happen in the end, it's just going to eventually even out and it's not going to be noticeable anymore. You might have to do a few circles of these brush strokes because it takes time to obtain the same shade. And look at this corner. Oh my goodness, it was full of fingerprints. Look at this. But don't worry, we know what to do. As I said before, I'm gonna erase it. Then as you can see, I create some charcoal dust and apply it with my brush here because there was not enough dust, so I created my own. I applied it very carefully, and after several applications, you can see that it got the same shade. Another problem I encountered was the timing of the background. I made a mistake. I did the background first, not the last, and that created some problems such as uneven surfaces. Sometimes things got darker where they shouldn't get darker, and I had to erase my fingerprints, as you can see here. So it didn't go as planned. The only reason I did this in the beginning was because I did the hair and I wanted to add the flying hair, and in order to do that I had to add the cars in the background. But then I could have stopped there, but I didn't, and I kept adding all the other elements of the background, which I shouldn't have, if you ask me. So here, let me show you the reason why I added all these cars. It's just because, as you can see, after I finish this, I'm going to go in and add all the hair details, including flying hair, so that I will be done with the head part of the portrait. Here you see me adding all these flying hair carefully with my charcoal pencil. Don't forget to sharpen your pencils when you're dealing with flying hair, guys. Just a tip. Okay, let's continue with my problems. So number 4 is smudging problem. Oh, well, not surprising. We're working with charcoal, so it is very likely that you're gonna smudge somehow. In order to prevent that, you can always put something underneath your hand. But my biggest suggestion would be working from top to bottom, because if you go from bottom to top, then you are more likely to smudge everything because you would be touching more areas with your hands. Look at here, for example, I was adding this hair, but I got all the charcoal on my hand, and look at here, I smudged it already. If you accidentally smudge, don't worry, you can go in with your either kneaded eraser or your eraser pencil just like this and carefully erase all the smudging. The fifth biggest challenge I encountered was the strategy problem. So every big painting or drawing needs a strategy. For example, how am I going to draw these grips and handlebars? I needed to make a plan. Am I going to need my charcoal pencil? Am I going to need my brush? Would stick eraser work here, or do I need my kneaded eraser? How can I create those patterns there? The bigger area you have, the more planning you need. So that was challenging for me. Plus, I needed another good plan for the hair because he had complicated curly hair. And for the hair, I decided to do a complete pitch black base and go over it with my electric razor and stick razor to give the curls. But then he looked like an old man, so I added some brush strokes here so that they would get a nice gray shade, and I added all the final details with my charcoal pencil. For example, here the water bottle lanyard needed some thinking because I didn't know how to give this pattern. I decided after a dark base, working with my electric razor would be the best way to go. And of course, the background. The cars were blurry, so I thought working with brushes would give me the best result when it comes to blurry vision. And I think it worked out fine. And with the pipes on the right, I used mostly my eraser. Here, this object here was very confusing for me because in the photo, it was not very obvious what it was. It looked like a toy car, but I wasn't completely sure, so I just drew whatever I saw. I just drew triangles and circles and squares, whatever shapes I saw, and I added all the shades the way that I saw in the photo. And finally I asked my cousin and she said that it was his water bottle. This is it, guys. This is how I did all this drawing, and I think it turned out fine. If you want to learn more about charcoal, please watch my next video on the right. If you feel like doing it, don't forget to subscribe or like this video. Bye!